I was driving down the road the other day and noticed this chair sitting out for free. First thing I'm going to do is remove the support that's holding the backrest. It's only 2 screws and it was easy to take off. Next step is to take my oscillator and cut off the back of the backrest. Then I'm going to use a drill and drill through where the seat was being held together. I'm going to pull this little plug out, but I want to leave the hole because I've got an idea for it. Next step is to take some 80 grit sandpaper and sand down the top of the seat because I'm going to restain it. Once that's done, I'm going to move up to 220 to give it a nice smooth look. The next step after this is to take what's called a Forstner bit. This Forstner bit, I'm going to match to the same size hole that I already had removed, measure down 5 inches on both sides, and I'm going to start drilling through. A Forstner bit, you don't want to push too hard, but rock back and forth and get a nice, perfect, solid drill size out of it. Once I do this and then go ahead and clear off the sawdust, it's ready to go. I'm also going to grab a 1/2 inch Forstner bit and start drilling in some pre-marked locations. But you may not notice I did make a mistake. The left side hole is a little too close to the edge, but I've got a solution that I can make this fixed and make it work. I'm going to take the sawdust that I had drilled through, I'm going to put it in a cup. The sawdust is the same wood that I used when I drilled through. By mixing some wood glue together, I'm going to mix it together to make it kind of like a little bit of a Play-Doh. Then I'm going to take this, after I put some wood glue in the hole and mix it all around, I'm going to take this little putty that I made and I'm going to pack it into the hole that I want to get rid of. I'm going to stuff it in there with the popsicle stick and then try to level it off on the top. I need this to dry for about an hour. While it's doing that, I'm going to take the legs and all the supports and I'm going to put a primer on there. I'm going to use a white primer and let it dry a good couple of hours, and then I'm going to take some nice cabinet paint and give it a nice smooth finish, and I'm also going to put 2 coats on there. As you can see, it's looking really good with just that first coat. Now it's time to sand down that little plug that I got rid of. Once it gets sanded down, it's going to look really good. When I stain it, it's actually going to look awesome. But before I stain, I want to get some pre-stained wood conditioner. What this does is I'm going to put this all around the top of the seat and it keeps the stain from blotching. This is definitely something you want to put on and let dry for about an hour. Once that's done, I'm going to grab some ebony stain and start putting it on there, going with the grain, but also making sure I get pushed in with my rag. I use a rag and not a brush because I feel like it gives it a nice clean finish. And then once that dries overnight, I'm going to use some polyurethane to put some nice finish on this, and it gives it a nice coating and it also gives it a nice protectant. Once that's all done and it dries, I'm going to grab some rope here. This is 1 inch thick rope, and I'm going to tape the end so I can push it through the larger size holes on 2 of each side. Once I push that down in there and get the perfect length that I want, I'm going to tie a knot on both sides and then I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to do the same with the smaller holes. Then I'm going to grab some sandpaper and just kind of rough up the legs a little bit to give it kind of a rustic look. I love how this is turning out. Now watch this. I'm going to put it at the front door. Look at those nice little twine ropes and everything and that perfect finish, and it looks awesome. And it's great for holding up a potted plant, anything that I want to put out there. I think it turned out beautiful. I hope this inspired you to not throw that old furniture away, but go ahead and upcycle as you please.
When I saw these mismatched bar stools at my local thrift store, I knew exactly what I could use them for. After a few measurements, I decided these stools were the perfect height for bedside tables. To start this DIY, I primed and painted both stools white. Once the stools were dry, it was time to distress. I used 220 grit sandpaper and roughed up the legs and the seat. This step is totally optional, but I was going for more of a farmhouse look, so the worn look worked for me. After wiping everything down, it was time for sealer. Using a brush, we applied 1 coat and let it dry completely. To make shelves for the nightstands, we measured and cut 2 interlocking pieces of shiplap. I painted the sides using the same white I used for the stools. After removing the tape, I gave the edges a light sand. Then, just setting the wood into the rungs of the bar stools, and voila! I now have 2 new bedside tables. They are the perfect height next to the bed and provide just enough storage. I hope this inspired you to give forgotten furniture a new purpose.
I had a friend give me an old cabinet, but I have some great ideas for it. First thing I'm going to do is get the drawer out, and I need to change the hardware. I'm also going to take the doors off because I want an open concept. I'm also going to take out the shelves on top. I want to make sure I get as much space as possible on top. Next, I take it outside. I'm going to go ahead and start sanding it with some 80 grit. I want to roughen up the sides. That way the primer sticks to it. What you see here is me spraying on some primer. Paint doesn't like to stick just directly to wood, so you got to prime it to give something for the paint to stick to. I'm going to go ahead and prime it all over except the very inside. One good coat will do the job. Now I'm going to switch over to some cabinet paint. Don't skimp on this. You want some good quality cabinet paint. Once you get that on, let it dry, and I'm going to put 3 coats on. That's going to make it really nice and durable. Once the paint is on, I'm going to switch over to some brick paneling. It's easy to cut. I'm going to mark it, and I'm going to start placing this on the inside of the top cabinet there. I can put it in place. I use some glue and some staples to hold it down. Once I get that in place, I'm going to cut out a little square. Now here's a surprise. I'm going to cut this out, and what I'm going to install once it's removed is an electrical box. I'm going to go ahead and wire up some switches and outlets. They're easy to do. I can just follow directions right off the internet. Once I get that light switch and that electrical box installed, I'm going to put a white cover. It kind of blends in with the cabinet top, and it's flat, and I use the box size to make it look really nice when it's put in place. Next, I put a outlet box on the top for a light. Look at that, it's looking really good, and I got this light off Amazon. Next, I'm going to go back to the drawer, and I'm going to put on some good hardware. I got 3 coats on this drawer also, and it looks really good. Put that in place, and it's time to stick it inside. I'm going to put a bulb in, and I got this cool neon coffee sign. I'm going to set that up there. And then I'm also going to go ahead to the Dollar Tree and buy some decor. All these mugs and baskets. And I'm going to put my coffee maker in place. And look at this cool holder I got for all my pods. It's just great. Put that in place. It's going to cover the switch, light up the neon sign, light up the light. And look at this. The great thing about this light cover is it's adjustable. Now it's time for some good old-fashioned hot chocolate. Once I get that all brewed up, oh, look how amazing this turned out. I took a 70-year-old cabinet, and with some love and some patience, I made it look great. And I love the industrial look, and I hope you do too, especially with that neon sign in the back. I think it turned out beautiful. I hope this inspired you to go ahead and upcycle old furniture as you see fit. I was out looking through yard sales and I found this dresser. What I wanted to do was first make sure I brought it up to my level and get all the drawers out so it's easy to work with. Once all the drawers are out, I noticed it was really gross on the inside, and I took my air blower and got it all out. Also, the bottom was actually in rough shape. It had some duct tape, and the shelf was just made of this cardboard material, and I needed to get rid of that. Also, know that I didn't need the middle drawers. The first top one I'm going to keep, but the other ones I'm not. So I used my oscillating tool to take away the framing. Once I got that done though, the next step I wanted to do is take a piece of 1/4-inch plywood, and I'm going to cut that and make my new shelf. That way it's stronger than the cardboard, and it looks good when it gets put in there. All I need to do is mark it off, use my skill saw, and get it cut just to the perfect length. Once I do that, I set it in place, and it looks great. Next step though is to go ahead and prime the whole project. You got to put on a good primer. If I were to paint it, the paint could actually peel off. So I put this primer on. It's going to hide any stains and allow the paint to adhere really nice. Once I do that, then I also made sure I got the shelf in place with a few brad nails. The next step was to go ahead and put the paint on. Made sure that primer dried overnight, and then I used the paint, and it's a good quality cabinet paint. That's the key. Once I get that all on the sides and rolled on, I made sure I did 2 coats. Next, the perfect solution was to get the shutter out of the garbage can, and I cut it to size. And then I want to paint it. And it would have been a hassle to go ahead and brush it or roll it on, so I used spray paint. It goes on really nice, and it just takes 2 coats. The great thing about using spray paint is it's also an oil-based spray paint, and it gives such a nice satin finish to it. Once I get this side painted, I painted the other. And the great thing was I only needed actually 1 coat on the front of these drawers. I'm also going to put some new hardware on. That way it matches throughout. I'm actually going to put those poles on the front of the shutters along with new hinges, and I'm going to put those on also. Look at this. It's looking actually really good. Now I put some hooks on the side to hang my barbecue tools. Put that down. It's also great to put my wood chips in. I can seal those in the bottom. Anything that I want. Close those doors. They're out of sight. And I'm going to put a cutting board, and look at this. It actually turns out great. It's a side companion to my grill. I think it actually turned great. I don't think this thing could have turned out any better. Instead of throwing this old thing away that we found on the side of the road, we turned it into a beautiful, upcycled outdoor grilling station. I think it turned out great. I hope you liked this project too, and let us know what you think. Thank you for watching Home Talk, and we'll catch you next time.